My name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless podcast, actually episode 136. I'm starting to lose count of the numbers. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome to the fam. Join our online community on Instagram. We're at Legally Clueless podcast. There's a link to the page in the show notes. I'd also love you to check out our YouTube channel. It has some dope stuff there. There is season 1 of our video series where you see different Africans on camera on our funky yellow set sharing their stories live in front of the camera, and it's super awesome. There's also our tour series that is up. It's a 4-part series of us in Nairobi, Nakuru, Kisumu, and Mombasa, which are all places in Kenya. You can check that out on our YouTube. There's a link to that in the show notes. And very soon, possibly by the end of this week, there's a very special episode coming out. And that's all I can say for now. So make sure you check out our YouTube, subscribe, and share it with everybody who you think really needs to be part of this community. All right, so what's coming up in this episode? Listen to this.
You know, when we met, she had come to my place to ask for my ID, my national ID, so that she can go to an Okolea shop. Her own ID had a debt. I had just moved into the plot, so she was taking advantage. She was 5 months pregnant when I knew her. After she healed from the wounds, I told her, I really need you. I was living with my sister in Mombasa. Then I was hustling in Juakali industry because I do engineering. Per day, I could be paid maybe 300 shillings to send her money every day. If I get 300, I would send 200. Going home during Corona time, we kind of hooked up. The ex now. It got too close to an extent now she was taking my phone, going through my records, realizing that I've been sending money to a stranger every day. And then I declared, yeah, you really have to be in my life. I need to take care of the kids. But then she told me, in fact, the kid is not yours. So you know the kid is not yours. At 6 hours at her doorstep, she opened up. I was shocked now to find another man inside. At that moment, I was crying, and the man was shouting, "Mwanaume unalia, achana na udem bana."
That's a story by Gift that you're going to be hearing a little later in this episode. However, I hope you are doing well and are surrounded by peace and grace. I feel like I've had one of those days that really didn't have enough of those two things. I'm just kind of like struggling to power through recording this episode. So, hey, I could do with that peace and grace that I'm sending to you. Anyway, one good thing is I'm back home from France, and I've been in France for the last 2 weeks, I think. Well, about 2 weeks. And I had gone for the new Africa-France summit and something else that I can't share just yet. I was part of a panel of 11 Africans so first and foremost, the summit was about just trying to reconstruct France's relationship with Africa and the different countries in Africa. And so I was part of a panel of 11 that got to engage with the president of France on this topic. I also happened to be the only English speaker in that panel. And so we had like 3 days of workshopping, and I had like a translator there. It was my first time having to be in an environment where I'm not speaking the language and I have to have a translator. And it was different. It was very, very different. But my translator, her name is Lisa, is such a superhero and she's just amazing. And I'll probably send her a link to this episode because I can't stop telling her how awesome she is. But it was very different for me, but she made it a very seamless transition for me. I arrived in France on a Sunday, and then on Monday, my workshop started. And then on Tuesday, I had a meeting, the first meeting with the president. And I was just like, what is my life? Like, what is my life? I was chatting my sisters. I'm like, guys, I'm headed to the presidential palace to have a meeting with Macron. Like, what is this life even? Anyway, so during that first meeting, I had a presentation to do. So it was really intense for me. I was just like trying to remember all my points so that I'm not constantly looking down at my notes. And when we arrive at the presidential palace, I'm literally seated smack opposite Macron. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, pressure. And I know at that point, I mean, everybody's like, yeah, you did great, blah, blah, blah. But internally, I was like, I think I could hear my voice shaking a bit. which I really hate when that happens. But yeah, I think I could hear my voice shake a bit and I was just like, damn it. So that first presentation went okay. And then came the actual summit, which was on Friday. This was in a place in France called Montpellier. I have completely butchered the pronunciation, but whatever. You get me. So we were part of the concluding session. So it was a very important session. The president was there, 11 of us on stage, and I was giving a speech. I wrote this speech across 2 days. It was fairly easy for me to write this speech because I was just like, I'm just going to tell the truth. I'm going to talk about the effects of colonization, the effects of not hearing an acknowledgement of the very bad effects of colonization. I'm going to talk about, France battling issues like racism, issues that affect human rights, yet coming to try and teach us about these things, Yeah, so I talked about a lot of things that I thought were like just common sense. You know what I mean? And they were just truths. I didn't think I was doing anything extraordinary or out of the usual. I genuinely, even up to this moment, I'm just like, what's the fuss, guys? I think I just said what we're all thinking, right? Anyway, so Friday I gave the speech and it went really well. I was nervous before, but in the moment my voice didn't shake. Yay. And the reaction was just so crazy. And so first, the immediate reaction I got once our session was done was from the president himself. And he was just like, did they send you to tell me these blunt truths? And I was like, no one sent me. I was just saying, stating facts. And I think we had like a respectful moment where there was respect for him, obviously, and he had a respect for me. And that was a really good moment for me. And then when I came up the stage, it was just like people throwing cards at me and just like, oh my God, let's connect. And they're from all these different African countries. And that was just so powerful. There was one guy I had really wanted to meet. I've met him 2 times before, but hadn't gotten his email. He's a CEO of a company that I work closely with. And he was like, here's my card. Let's talk. I think we've met before. I think you've interviewed me. And I'm like yelling back at him, yes, we have. But I didn't have your email address. I'll send you an email tomorrow. And so it was just like I was just kind of caught up in that moment and just wondering, oh my God, what's happening, Anyway, that evening, there were a few other Kenyans who were part of this summit. And so what was really great about this summit, sorry, I didn't mention, is that it was the first time that the president said he didn't want to meet heads of state. He wanted to meet just everyday Africans. Some were youth, some not youth. Some of us are like 3 years away from not being considered youth. Anyway, and so that was really important. And, I kept saying I wish we could have a situation like that, especially as Kenya going into an election year. It would be great to be able to have a conversation, especially with the aspiring candidates, just to be very clearly honest with them, not for them to debate amongst themselves, but to have everyday Kenyans asking them, okay, you want to give us a 6,000 stipend. Where is that money coming from? How did you arrive at 6,000? How is this plan going to work? Okay, you say you're going to set up a youth ministry. We already have like 11 youth bodies in the government. Tell us why you want to do this, how you're going to do this, how is it going to be sustainable and effective and all of those things. Like it would be nice to have and not worry about being deported or something strange happening to you afterwards. You know what I mean? I wish we could have that. Maybe we can do that on our online platforms, and we already do a good job of that. But it would be nice going into an election year to have such an honest space. That New Africa France summit was a very honest space. I was saying the things in my speech and the president was sitting right next to me taking notes, and I was saying some bitter, harsh truths. Anyway, went on a tangent there. So I get back. No, afterwards we go for dinner with like the other Kenyans. And then we go out partying because I was just like, man, I've been in France 1 week and I've not had a night out because I've been working. This has to end tonight. And so we went into this place in Montpellier called Comedy, and there's like different clubs, blah, blah, blah. We were walking to one club and we met these other guys who we didn't know who were like, where are you going? Where are you going to that club? That club stinks. Follow us. And so we followed them into this club with 2 floors and 2 different DJs. It was really awesome. Like I got back to the hotel at like 5:45-ish a.m. And I was checking out of the hotel to check into an Airbnb. And so we do all of that math with my very good friend Roy, and we get to the Airbnb. And the Airbnb was like, we had to take a train ride. Do we have to take a train ride? Okay, we had to take the tram and a bus ride to the Airbnb. Yes. So when we get the Airbnb, please note, I am so hungover at this point, maybe even possibly still drunk. And I'm just like, where is the bed? So I black out for a good number of hours. And when I wake up, I check my private line. So I have two phones. My private line, which is like family and stuff like that. And I see like I have crazy, that line never gets action. The WhatsApp, they never even pass like 10. So I check it and I'm seeing like 45 WhatsApps. So the first thing I'm like, oh fuck, what has happened? Because that has to be from family. So when I check, it's like all our WhatsApp groups and people are just like, oh my God, this is great. And I'm like, what is great? And then I see this link. My aunt has sent me a link and it's to a YouTube video and it's like, brave young girl calls out Macron for France exploiting Africa. And I see my photo in like the thumbnail. I'm just like, what's happening? And so I check it and it's like blowing up. I check my Twitter and it's also blowing up, but like I'm getting tweets from not only English speakers, so a lot of tweets in French. So I don't know if they're insulting me or congratulating me. And there's like some that are in Arabic, some in like languages that I don't know. And I'm just like, what is going on? My Instagram is also kind of like crazy at this point. And then Roy is like, hey, I think they're talking about you in the news. And he played something. I'm like, what is going on? And I was just like, whoa, guys. Like, I didn't do anything extraordinary. I just spoke the truth. And it's a truth that's not only mine. Like, any decent human knows this is a truth, right? It was a wild couple of days. I think it's only now kind of like calming down. I also didn't know how to act to all the like the dope energy people were throwing my way. I am a bit awkward about that. I'm like, thanks. Can we move on? Can we please move on? Can we move on now? No. But I think when I sat in it a bit longer, I think it just affirmed a lot about my journey. It affirmed that, you know, I'm made up of very many women. I think I've said this before on the podcast, and sometimes it's hard to let any of the women steer the boat because we are conditioned to believe that we can only be one woman. So if I'm a podcaster, I have no space talking about colonization and politics and governance and things like that. But there's a woman in me who's really interested in that stuff. And then there's the part of me that's like, no, your work is in ending sexual violence. So why are you talking about this other issue? You know what I mean? And throughout the workshop, there was that feeling of imposter syndrome as like, why was I chosen? Why am I here? And after the speech, I was like, this is why I was here. You know, I can speak my truth. And my truth happens to be the truth shared by many other Africans, you know? So it just affirmed that there's many women. I'm made up of so many women and they all are valid and they deserve a moment to steer the boat. And that's okay. It really affirmed that I shouldn't lock myself into even just podcasting. Not to say that I'm going to stop podcasting. I still really enjoy this, but it's not going to be the only thing that I do. And yeah, and that was really magical for me. I mean, I do feel a lot more pressure to be more vocal on issues, but I'm also trying to balance the pressure so that I don't feel like I have to speak at every given moment, even when I don't feel it. So it's like there's a balance that I have to find there. But yeah, now I'm just rambling on about it and overthinking about it. Let me just end it with saying it was a validating moment. So I put a link in the description to my full speech. It's on my Instagram TV. That's it. IGTV. And yeah, I'm very proud of myself. Yeah. And if you have not checked it out, I think you should. Anyway, now that I'm feeling a bit awkward because it's talking about the speech, let's move on to the song of the week, which I really love. And again, I have no idea what the song is about. Okay, I think I have a clue about what it's about, but it's so beautiful. It's so healing. The drums are so wonderful. I love playing it when I'm burning my frankincense and sandalwood in my house. And it's just so, And I think I'm actually going to do that tomorrow morning. It's just a calming song, and it's called Gambia. So I think it's a song about celebrating Gambia. And the song is by Sona Jabarte. I hope I have pronounced her name right. But you know what? I put a link to the song in the description, or in the show notes rather. I think you should definitely check it out. The drums are beautiful. And it's one of the songs you listen to and you can kind of like bob your head as you close your eyes. You know what I mean? Like you can get lost in the song. Yeah, so just check it out. Maybe I'm being a bit too emo about it, but yeah, just check out the song and let me know what you think as we jump into 100 African Stories. This is a story that we recorded during the Legally Clueless August tour. We recorded this particular story in Nakuru, and it's a story by Gift. Really love his name. And it's a story about him getting into a relationship with a single mom and how that turned out not so well. For both of them, really. 100 African Stories on Legally Clueless, coming to you from the road. We partnered with Africa No Filter to take this podcast on tour to Nakuru, Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nairobi, bringing you powerful and inspiring African stories.
My name is Gift Masaka. I'm from Kenya, and I was born in Taita Taveta County. I met this lady in 2019, February. I had moved into a new hostel. Let me say a plot. Yeah, I had moved in, and we started our friendship. But then our friendship started with me being generous and kind when I realized the lady was pregnant, and the guy who had impregnated her had left. So she was heartbroken. She was at a devastated state. She was to commit suicide. I remember, it's a long story, and that's where we met. So we hooked up, just as friends first. I helped her, I fed her. You know, when we met, she had come to my place to ask for my ID, my national ID, so that she can go to an Okolea shop to use my ID for getting lend money. So she had exhausted all her options. Her own ID had a debt. Her friends' IDs had debt, so I had just moved into the plot, so she was taking advantage now. I'm from Coast, so we are generous. I gave her, so we started now exchanging words and knowing each other. She's a good lady. She's beautiful. She's a Kikuyu lady, a very tall lady, brown lady. She was beautiful. Yeah, she was not kind of a lady that I didn't wish a man to play with her life, because she was good-hearted, very generous, just like I am. She was 5 months pregnant when I knew her, and taking care of her, and the baby was a baby boy. I even opted to arrange for a baby shower. Then she gave birth on, I remember, 7th of October. That's when she gave birth, and I was there when the water broke. I was there. She came into my place and knocked, told me, I think it's my time, because the doctor had told her on 27th that month is when she'll deliver, but I think it came earlier. So I took her to the student medical facility inside the Egerton University. I'm a student leader, and I used my powers, because the guys were hesitant, and it was early in the morning, and there was no ambulance, but I initiated an ambulance to be called, because I was so angry and I was so attached. It was my first time seeing someone, the water is broken, she's going to have a baby, and I was thinking like, oh, okay, the baby might die, because if the condition created for that baby is the amniotic fluid and it's now off, definitely it was going to be fatal. So I was tense. It didn't hint me that I was so getting attached to this lady. Neither did she. Let me tell you this. First, when I tell you she gave birth on 7th, the whole story of labor pains and whatsoever started on 6th. And I took her to Nakuru Level 5 hospital using the school facilities as ambulance. And we went, all that. I followed all that protocol, all that procedure. I can say it was traumatizing, because hearing women cry for a whole day and a half traumatized me. So I was so attached, and I imagined this lady pulling through after the birth without any man in his life. So I stepped in, and that's where I declared that I'll have to take care of this baby. So after she healed, there's that process. After she healed from the wounds, I told her, I really need you. And she was ready, because, in fact, she told me, you've read my mind. So we got into a relationship.
What are some fond memories you have of the beginning of the relationship?
Okay, I can say the baby shower is a memory, though we were still friends. But then I really treasured it. So it was one of the best moments I've ever had with a lady. Maybe another thing, I don't know. I can say sex. Yeah, it's a memory.
It is.
Yeah, it's a memory. Of course. Yeah. Yeah, it's a memory.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm not ashamed to say I had loved her, so
Yeah.
the sex was a memory. I'm 20. I'm getting into 24 years right now, so I'm still young. I don't have any kids, but then I can say the guy who was born of her, I took him like my own kid. What I was scared of, what will they eat, and the baby getting pampers and Cyrilac when he started the winning process, winning stage. So that was my greatest fear. But anyway, in 2020 now, Corona came in and I had to go back home. I was living with my sister in Mombasa, and then I was hustling in Juakali industry because I do engineering. So I was in a car garage. Per day I could be paid maybe 300 shillings. Maybe somewhat 250 when the day is too low for work, sometimes even 50 when there is nothing at all. So you are given just fare to go home. And I remember she was stuck in school, the same plot that we had met. She could not go home because of marital problems at home. The father and the mother were in wrangles just because of her pregnancy. So I told her, I'll take care of you. So I used to take care of her. I used to send her money every day. If I get 300, I'll send 200 and remain with 100 for fare. Then I also took advantage of paying rent every month because my dad put me under a program for his pension. So some part of his pension comes into my account. So I used to send her 2,500 to pay rent. All right, the only member of the family that I involved him or her with my story was only my sister and my mom. There was a point maybe if a day goes bad and I have nothing to send her, I could tell my sister to chip in, or my mom. Anyway, they put me close because they thought I was afraid to disclose my baby mama. Yeah, so my sister and my mom put me close, shielded me, so that maybe one day I could utter and say, actually, they are my kids. He's my kid and she's my baby mom. You cannot just take responsibility not of your blood, So they had that notion. All right, things started going left. I made a blunder. I can say we started dating, and I had previously broken up with my girlfriend, who we were doing a long distance relationship. I'm in Nakuru and she was in Mombasa at that time while we were meeting with the baby mama. Then going home during Corona time, we kind of hooked up because it's someone whom you've had good memories with. The ex now, it got too close to an extent. Now she was taking my phone, going through my records, realizing that I've been sending money to a stranger every day, or monthly I've been sending 2,500. Ladies sometimes can be, they can be investigators. So that's what happened. She went through my phone and found out there's a lady whom Gift is now giving attention so much, and it's like it's everything for him. I didn't know. She took her contact, alimtukana vibaya sana. I remember. It was in May. Alimtukana vibaya sana. Alimtukana, the lady niliamka asubuhi. I remember it was on 17th of May, and I woke up kwa my WhatsApp, nimeona the baby mama amenifuadia conversations, screenshots, amenifuadia voice notes, some 21 voice notes and some couple of screenshots that she was being abused. Now that's where the diversion comes in. I was confused. At this side, he's a lady. I have no idea where we've met, but just because of the kid, and she's beautiful. We've come into a relationship recently. Hata tujamaliza anniversary. And then this is an ex-girlfriend whom we've stayed since Form 3. So I think I understand. She was beat about the same. Whatever I did was to wait upon for the country to be open, because we were under lockdown. You remember in 2020, we were under lockdown. So I couldn't move and maybe personally get to the lady in Nakuru and apologize. I couldn't. So I used to call her occasionally, try to reach out to her friends whom were left also around, but to no vain. I still remember I used to send again. In fact, I doubled now. Yeah, because the place I was working, Now they had seen the loyalty and the trust, my salary increased. So I used to say, now if it's 200, 400, if it's 300, 600. So she used to receive and just say thanks, but then she has blocked me. I can't get to her. But then if I see her say thanks, then I just know she has received and she's grateful for that. So I waited until July 27th. I think 1 week before that, the president had opened the country. So I bolted from Mombasa to Nakuru, even without telling the other girlfriend. But the other girlfriend, after that saga, we broke up anyway, because I told her, you can't just abuse your fellow human. And she's a lady, she has a kid, you can't do that. How I came, I didn't have the fare, because the fare at that time when the president of Kenya opened the country, the fare was triple. From here to Nakuru to Mombasa, it's always 2,000. But then that time it was 5,000. When the country had just been opened. You could go to Kisumu with 10,000 or 8,000. You remember? So I had to tell my mom, now, give me this amount of money so that I can go back to school. But I cheated her. I told her I'm going for a business, meetings because I'm a student leader. And I need money, go and attend that function. However, we will have allowance, which will be paid later. But then there's no upfront for that. So you'll have to provide. Yeah. Even if it's giving it back to you, I'll do. So I came July 27th. We traveled during the day. Yeah, so it was treacherous. I was hoping, when can I see this lady? Because I've missed this lady. So I came. And on 28th in the morning at 10, I arrived in Njoro, Egerton, and went to the plot, but found she had left. She was not living there anymore. So I consulted a few friends who were around and told them, this lady, where can I find her? Some gentleman told me, I know where she left. And I had done shopping. I had carried some clothes for her and the kid. I had to tell the guy, please escort me. So he took me. Now the drama started there. When I arrived, I was not welcome. She had moved on. When I arrived, the kid was emaciated at first. Kid had gone through a lot. The lady had changed. She had shaved her head. She had really changed. She was more dark. Yeah, life ilikuwa imempiga. Personally, I can say that. They really looked bad, and it was emotional to see them that way. Yeah, and I tried to greet her. She didn't respond. The kid had forgotten me, of course. I tried to reach out the kid. She was crying. It was chaos. I tried to talk to her because, love was driving me, you understand? You see the person you love and, you had differences and you're there. Then they don't welcome you, but you're trying to force yourself into them because you love them. That's what happened. It was really bad. At first, it was a rejection, but I didn't see it as it. I came to understand later now. I was really rejected, despite doing all that. She was saying, you are out of my life. This 2020, I've made a resolution. No, you're not the one. And just leave us with my kid. In fact, the kid is not yours. I was trying to negotiate and tell her, remember, we've come from far. We've done a baby shower. I've taken you to maternity. I was traumatized for that. And then I declared, you really have to be in my life. I need to take care of the kids. But then she told me, in fact, the kid is not yours. So the kid is not yours. However much you've had sex. But then the kid is not yours. So just leave us. We are good the way we are, the way you left us. We're just good. So she was denying the fact that all that had happened because of the ex-girlfriend I had who abused her. I tried to, console her and tell her, it's okay. It was not my fault. I understand I did a wrong thing, going and hooking up with my ex, knowing I was with you, but then her abusing you is not my doing, it's not my liking, and I'm here to apologize for that. The country has just been opened up, and I'm here begging you to forgive me. But then she was adamant. At first, I asked her, is there someone in your life? Maybe that's why you don't want me back. She told me, no. In fact, I hate men right now. She even said, I hate the fact that I have given birth to a son. So she said, I wish I had a daughter. Ladies, we rock the world. We are for ourselves. You men are just... She told me I'm not different from the guy who had impregnated her. Yeah, so I tried. It bent on my knees. I even cried, I'm a man, but cried. But then she never listened. Since morning, because I arrived at 11, since morning until 7, And you remember that time, still the country was open, but curfew was at 8 up to 7. I was stranded. I don't know where to go. I'd reported the plot where I live, but then I had not met the caretaker, so there was no way the house could be opened for me to get in. When we leave, the caretaker also puts his own padlock. So it was bad for me. I didn't know where to sleep. All the time I'm in the door. I've not been allowed to get into the house. I have the shopping. I try to give her then take the shopping then, even if you don't want. No, I don't want anything to do with you. Just leave with your shopping. We are good. Nitakopa kwa duka kwa mama nani and we are good to go. I really don't want your treasures. I really don't. That's what happened. Okay. I have friends, but then the type of friends I have are the low class people that maybe human beings despise. The watchmen. So the Egerton University main gate watchmen are my friends, and I told them I'm coming there. I had a contact for one guy. I'm coming to spend a night there. Oh, mkosti uko around? Yeah, I'm around. Umefika sahi? No, nilifika mchana, but then sina mahali kwa kulala. I have to come and spend my night there because I don't know. Kuna curfew, nitashikwa. I have no money. I have no money left in my pocket. So I went to those guys and slept. Those guys the whole night chatting, and at this time I'm thinking that I'll give it another shot. And I was also calling my sister at given instances, while the fight was going on. I'll take a break and call my sister and tell her this way we've reached, tumefikia hapa. She tells me, I'm a lady, you understand, go back with this line. Go back, nothing. I had even just had to call my mom now and tell her the truth. I've told you I'm coming for a business meeting, but then no, this is the case. She told me, understand, son, maybe try to do this. I go back, nothing happens. Okay, in the morning now, while I was going to get now breakfast with some few cents left in my pocket to get lunch for these watchmen too, I met a friend now. We play basketball with. Oh, you're around? Yeah, why did you tell us? Yeah, it's a long story, but what's up? I'm good. I was asking maybe if you can, buy me bread, because they were left also here during the lockdown, and they had no work. They could not get home because the country was locked. So they were hustling. I bought him bread and went back to the watchman. Then later that guy called me. Umebeba viatu za basketball tuingie to scratch court. I told him, no. Where are you? Akambia, I'm in the watchman's place. What are you doing there? It's a long story. Can't you come into my place? Maybe we have a chat and we go to basketball and look for some shoes for you, maybe which can fit you. We go for basketball. I told him, it's all right. So I carried my bags, all of them, the shopping. So when I knocked at his place, he was shocked. Huh? Yeah, I thought ulikuwa unabangaiza tu kwa watchman. Kwani what's up? Ama umeenda shopping? No. It's a long story, I'll explain. Just allow me to place my bags. So I placed my bags, and we still can't talk because I had not believed, okay, did that really happen yesterday? Okay, maybe. I'm a man, I'll come over, I'll overcome it. I'll have another chance. So it's early to tell my story to my friends, so let me wait and give it another shot. So I stayed for 2 days at my friend's place, and then got some money to at least sustain me. And within those 2 days I tried to go back to the lady, but then she didn't even open the door for me. I could knock, ni nani? Ni mimi, gift, open up. Go away. For the 2 days trying, even 3 times a day for the 2 days. So I opted to just go home. My sister told me, just come home. Yeah, give her time. Maybe when you get back to school officially, maybe you'll find her, maybe, So I got some 1,500 to take me to Nairobi first, to my friend's place. Then when I reached there is when I now brainstorm on how to get to Mombasa. So when I reached in Gilgil, it was now on August. I think August had already set. It was early August now. I'm going home. But then I'm telling myself, I'm a man, naezaje enda alafu nishindwe, So upon reaching Gilgil, I alighted. Told the guy, cut a fare hadi Gilgil, I'm going back. So I went back. I went back and tried another. Now it was 6 in the morning because I had opted to go to Nairobi at 4, so that I can reach maybe at 8 or 7 in Nairobi to get me a car to Mombasa, to reach Mombasa in time, because curfew was at 8. That's what happened. So I came back again. At 6 I was at her doorstep, knocking again. She opened up. When she opened up, I was shocked now to find another man inside. Definitely that was a partner or someone she was sleeping with. to get over stress, maybe, definitely.
So what
And
happened?
I think she opened up the door just to show me that, I really don't need you. Because the other times I was knocking, she was not opening up. But this time she has decided to open up. So there's a man, so that I can see. Now it's when it dawned to me, actually, it's over. At that moment, I was crying. Yeah. And the man was shouting, "Mwanaume unalia. Achana na udem bana. Achana tu naye. Sio lazima." So I had to leave now and go and knock on my friend's door. And you're going home. What's up? You're back again. So they told me, stop this bullshit and just tell us what's happening. So I had to sit down now, tell them my story. Yeah, their reaction was, first I was stupid. Yeah, we are men. You can't take care of someone's heart, can you? You can't. You're a man. You can't do that. You take care of your own. But if you feel, if you find a heart that you can take care of well, and it doesn't disperse, and even one sheep is not lost, then you're lucky if that heart is not yours. Love was in the air, so I didn't believe that. There's no way I can just run away from it. I have to accept it. And the only way was to accept it had happened, was to accept that it was my mistake. To allow two women in my life, and they ruined my life. I now started embarking on a journey of, coming out of depression. There was times I could dream, because when I came back to my friend's place, now I had no money. So I had to tell them, really, we have now to just hustle our ways out. I'm not even going home now. So I look for anything to do. So at that time, I used to, because I'm an engineering student, I used to look for projects maybe which I can do, research online, see what I can really do constructively. And in the process, of course, memories of that lady could come. I was so depressed. Anyway, you can not just say because you're a man, you don't have feelings. Men are also depressed. And I think I can say they're the really depressed part, because we don't talk about ourselves. It's like a man, when he's bereaved, they tend to, hold it. But for ladies, the tears really roll down, and they are, within no time, they are over with that. So that's what happened. But that day you look like I'm sitting and, outside, and see a couple walking, and, memories come. Or see a kid, a kid walking. Yeah, memories will come. Kid. Wow. I wish I really didn't disclose everything, until I was at a point like I want to take away my life. Yeah, so I don't know, I don't remember, but I wanted to take poison and just get away with it. I really need to get away of this life, because I've offered everything I could. I know at my age, finding someone who is so responsible, the current youth, people are not so generous. I can say that. And the fact that I'm in up country, I've seen the way the bringing of men and women is so different from cost. And I saw, like, why am I even in up country? What for? People are evil. This lady, I've really gone through a lot with her, but she's not regarding me anymore. So what for? Yeah, I started hating women, in fact. So it was a first sequence where you see a kid you admire, but then it comes a time you see kids, you see bullshit. You see a lady and a man you admire. It comes a time you say, to hell, man. So it reached that point. I have no one now. So going forward was hard for me. It was really hard. But then I don't remember how I maneuvered, but my friends kept me close. We had to get some small size basketball shoes and get into the court, because I love playing basketball. I started hitting the gym. With time, I used to exhaust myself. We have a swimming pool. I used to go to swimming. So I didn't know it was a therapy, but it worked. But then when it worked, I was adamant that no lady close to my life, no. It's now for the boys. I remember my friend, let me just mention my friend, because now he's a friend. Ian, he's called Ian Musyoka. He does medicine. Ian is a type of man who interacts with a lot of ladies than men. So that time we used to bring friends, and because there are no studies at that time, we had not embarked on studies. The country was open, but then they were putting regulations first for churches to open, for games to open, before we have our kids back to school. So He used to bring a lot of women in his place because I was residing in his apartment. And they drink all night. But then I was glued to my own stuff. So there's a woman who asked me, guys, how are you? You don't look okay. What are we interacting to? Are you even human, Because they will come, I'll cook silently, give them food. It's very generous, but then I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't take drugs, I don't take alcohol. So I'll get to do the laptop, maybe check some movies on, to see some projects, see some, well-renowned people. Yeah. Like Elon Musk, follow their projects, their lives. Yeah, that's what I used to do. We came back to studies in January. We had been split in Egerton University. There was a group which was in school, on campus by November. They came to do their examinations, and then we reported in January. Now, when I came in January, actually, I used to have the lady's contacts. She unblocked me. I used to see her status. She used to see mine. She had moved on, and at times she could text me hi, but I couldn't reply because I was so angry, and I told myself, if I make a mistake of maybe talking to her, I know myself, I'll get back on track again. But then I avoided that. So time to time, I started becoming busy, and I started involving myself with Coily. Yeah, because Professor Kai is a good gentleman, and I came to him, with some ideas, and he told me, you stick around, see what's happening, and start doing your thing. By day, also, Coily Media took a chance with us, with some few gentlemen and ladies, and we started, doing news presenting and stuff, communication, media. So it kept me busy, in fact. And when we resumed on our studies, it was over now. It was over. I could go to church. I stopped going to church. Could go back to church now, look at people, interact. Okay, I broke down my guards now and started interacting with people. But this time, so careful. I remember one time, this year, in May, she called me, the lady. She had no money. I gave her. But now then, this time, no strings attached. Okay, of course, it has really influenced how I think and, how I live right now, how I interact with people. Right now, I'm dating, yes. I have a lady, a kissy lady. But then before I saw her, or before I got into her, of course, in Mindo nilimpatia, I really looked at her qualities. And she qualified for a simple lady without drama, and a beginner in relationships, so that we can build each other. I don't want someone who knows a lot of things. I want someone who knows less, and of course I cannot brag that I know a lot, but someone whom we can educate ourselves, and shape ourselves into some couple that we can both admire when you look at our pictures. Yes, I'm dating. But then right now, when I speak, I cannot take care of a lady mwenye mtoto si wangu. Honestly, I can't. However much I'm sympathetic, that's the best level I can reach. I cannot now be empathetic and get into her shoes. No, it can't. Now I'll just have to have my own kids now. But it has taught me anyway, how to father. I've known maternity now. I know what goes on, how when you go in, how you come out. I know that. Yeah, it has given me experience.
100 African Stories, the Legally Clueless 2021 tour powered by African No Filter. We're traveling through Kisumu, Nakuru, Mombasa, and Nairobi, bringing you real, raw, and inspiring African stories. I hope you enjoyed that story by Gift. It's one of those that left me thinking about one thing a lot, which is where masculinity and emotions meet. Just like from listening to him trying to break down what he was feeling, hearing what his friends thought about it, it's really what I was left thinking about when I listened to his story. But of course, that was one of the stories that we recorded in Nakuru. The Nakuru tour episode is out on our YouTube channel. If you check out the show notes, there's a link to our YouTube channel. If you're listening on a platform that has no show notes, I'm so sorry. Just head over to YouTube and search Legally Clueless. You will find us. We're bright yellow. You can't miss us. Also, I want to send a big shout out to everybody who sends such sweet and honest messages on the Legally Clueless hotline. I stumble on these messages, and it's so funny. The universe works in such funny ways because I stumble on the messages when I need to hear them the most.
Hi Adele, my name is Mukavita. I stumbled across your podcast, I think on Instagram, and I really love it. It has really played a major role in helping maintain my mental health and helping me to be more aware of my mental health. Episode 110 really struck me, I think, more than any other episode because I could relate to what Michael was saying, where he'd bottle up feelings. I've struggled with the same thing, and I've been going for therapy. I'd stopped for a while. I'm resuming therapy, and it gives me hope that there's hope for me and that there's nothing wrong with therapy. At first, I used to think therapy is for the weak, but I came to realize actually it really requires you to be strong to actually share those things that you've been keeping for all this while and have not been able to talk about. So I'm so grateful that you started this podcast. I wish you all the best, and may the stories keep inspiring people.
First, just that name, Mukavita, is such a beautiful name. I've never heard it before. But away from your name, I just have to say thank you so much for listening to the podcast, sending that message. I'm so glad that there's something that you connect with here. I'm glad that it's helped you navigate certain periods in your life. That's pretty magical as well. And yeah, thanks for being part of the community. And of course, if you feel like there's something that you want to share, maybe there's something you connected with on one of the very many episodes of this podcast, you can just record a voice note and send that to our hotline number, which is +254 768 628 790. That number is also in the show notes. Okay, thank you so much for listening to this episode to the very end. Remember, you can also catch this podcast on Trace Radio in Kenya every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. and 12 noon, and on Fridays at 12 noon. Just head over to traceradio.co.ke. I am going to end the episode here so I can go and catch a snooze. As I told you, I've had just a long day. It's just one of those, I don't know, man. It's just one of those days with so many emotions. And then Fal and I had a fight, and just one of those days. So I think sleep can help. It's how I deal with my issues. Instead of confronting them, I disappear into sleep. But yeah, I hope you have a fantastic week ahead. And I hope by the end of this week, our special surprise, that's a special Legally Clueless surprise, will be out. If not, I'll say this again in the next episode. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.